we are live.
Terrific. It is 5 p.m. I'd like to officially call the Amity Regional Board of Education Finance Committee to order. At this point, I would like to have a motion regarding possible action on minutes that are in the packet.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'll second.
And seconded by Dr. Turner. Thank you. We need to vote.
Yes, we'll need to vote.
We need to vote.
Just make sure no discussions or changes.
Any changes that anyone noticed? Discussion?
I didn't.
All right, I will call the roll. Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
He's on mute.
Matt,
Matt, I think you're on mute, but you can give us a thumbs up if you are going.
I gotcha. Okay, I'm a yes.
Yes.
Huxley.
Be sure we say it.
Ms. Huxley?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Terrific. Public comment. Did we receive any?
No.
None for finance. Moving on, discussion and possible action on contracts over 35,000. We'll start with the financial software on page 5. Should be familiar to all of us on the committee because it's Munis and that's all that we know, Terry.
That is, it's long before me. So this is our software. This is the standard rate that they're offering all of their clients. It's an increase. And we are looking to accept that, and the price would be $76,733.97 for the coming year.
Any questions for Ms. Loomis regarding the Munis software?
No.
No? Terry, you did say that this was something, this is the only software that you've used since you've been in this department, even before you were the head, correct?
For financials, payroll, financials, and everything. It carries us right through the audit. It's very comprehensive, fixed assets.
Terrific. I remember many years ago, Jack Levine also saying that he really liked the Munis system. So I just want to make sure that we were still feeling good
Still
about it.
liking it.
All right, terrific. Can we then get a motion to recommend to the Amity Board of Ed that we extend that contract?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Karen, take the roll.
Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Nuzzo,
Yes.
Ms. Huxley.
Yes.
Thank you all. Motion passes and we'll go to the Amity Board of Ed. We have quite a few in facilities. We should take these still one by one, I think. Should we keep it simpler? Or?
Opt to make a motion to take all of them as one, the way that they're listed on the agenda. That could be appropriate if that was something that the committee wanted to do.
Committee, would you like to take them individually or as a group?
I think go either way.
And most of them are ongoing contracts, third year, second year. I think you could do them in toto.
So Mr. Giglietti, are you making that motion to take them
Sure,
all
I'll
together?
make the motion that we consider, let's see, are they all, let's see. Yeah, one,
Mhm.
items, let me read them off anyway. Item 1, snow removal, ice control, etc. Number 2, district chiller maintenance. Number 3, building controls. Number 4, site-based grounds maintenance. Number 5, safety services. Number 6, trash and recycling services. And number 7, cooling tower piping.
A motion to combine, you just need a second on that. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Joe?
All right, so I'm going to call the roll to take all the motions or all these contracts as one, items 1 through 7 under facilities. Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo,
Yes.
Ms. Huxley.
yes,
All right, thank you again.
Nope,
So,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry,
we still
didn't-
have
we
to go
just-
through them and
I'm
then approve
going
them.
too
So maybe we can turn that to Terry and she can just at least review what the contracts are.
Thank you.
So as I said, most of these are extensions of contracts or second or third year contracts. So snow and ice removal, there are different rates depending on the amount of snowfall. District chiller maintenance, Train is proprietary on that, and it's the second of a year contract. Siemens is also proprietary, and it's the second year of an annual contract. Dave Brown's is in the third year of a 3-year contract. Safety Services is in year 2 of a 3-year contract. And Trash and Recycling is extending the current contract prices. So this will be the 4th year. And then the cooling tower piping was a project that was bid, and we had 4 proposals that range from $32,534 to $67,296. The low bidder was F&F Mechanical. You may recall, we've done work with them before. They worked on the pipe that went between the buildings underground. So we have experience with them, so we're confident recommending them the bid.
Any of these? I know we're taking them on one, but we still welcome questions on any of the items.
Mhm.
All right, hearing none.
So
Dr.
I
Meyer?
think we need a motion to recommend that the Amity Board approve items 1 through 7 under facilities.
Thank you. Do we
I
have,
move that we recommend the Amity Board of Education approve all the facilities items.
Thank
so
you.
moved,
I'll second that.
That being said, I will call the roll. Ms. Cardozo,
yes,
Dr. Turner,
Yeah,
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes,
Mr. Nuzzo,
Yes.
and Ms. Huxley.
yes,
thank you all. That brings us to the athletic trainer services.
Yeah, so every year we ask if we can renew the contract, and with the bidding process, we have been using Rehab Associates for many years. We have excellent service provided by them, and we have reached a very reasonable increase of a 1.52% to have a 1-year contract for $64,600.
So thank you again, Terry, for explaining. Do we have a motion for the athletic trainer contract?
I'll make that motion.
Joe?
Yes.
Thank you, Joe. And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Before I call the roll, I would like to just commend Kim Pierce. She is our athletic trainer, and throughout this year with COVID, she has been the person who's been responsible for both checking the COVID screenings for every single athlete prior to coming to practice to make sure that they were not exhibiting any symptoms. That meant sometimes checking the screenings for up to 400 to 500 athletes every single day, and following up if they hadn't completed that. Kim has also been a primary contact person for the contact tracing and the quarantines that go out for students who are exposed to an index case as a result of athletics, because those periods are different than what they are for the school, for academics. So she's not recognized very often, but she's been a critical piece in our ability to function throughout the course of this year, particularly with respect to sports during COVID. So I appreciate support for renewing the contract with this company, and particularly with her, because I'm not sure we would have made it without the skills that she brought to our operations this year. So Mr. Brown, thank you for joining us. I will call the roll at this point. Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
yes,
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes,
Rizzo,
Yes.
Ms. Huxley,
yes,
Rao.
Yes.
Terrific, and thank you again, Dr. Byers, for taking that moment to acknowledge Kim's service to Amity, because it really is something that I'm embarrassed to say that honestly, it wasn't in my mind how important and critical her role was. So thank you so much for taking that time to publicly compliment her and thank her. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on athletic project change order, page 10 in our packets.
Yes, so this is actually change order number 2. Change order number 1 is still under review, and it has to do with price increases, mainly with the subcontractors, the cost of gravel, the cost of the athletic equipment that's going on the field. So we're still reviewing that, but that's not so timely as this one is, because the project is underway. And as we looked at the entrances to the stadium, we have very old asphalt that's cracked that would get repaired, replaced when we did the second phase of the asphalt. But much of it is will be abutting the new track. And it's between a building, the field house, and the track. So we thought that in our discussions amongst ourselves, and then we went up and we met with Field Turf on the field, and it would make much more sense to do that piece now while they're digging up the field itself and the track, and to have it under their supervision rather than bringing in a third-party contractor to, abut that track that has a brand new 50-year warranty shortly after it's done. So we worked with them. We asked them for a change order price. They gave me a price. I went back to them and asked for reasons as to, why it was that price. Why when I compared it to last year's paving, it seemed high, but they explained it because of the area that it's in. They can't use a large miller. You can't take out the asphalt in small, fine product. It's large chunks. It's more expensive to dispose of in that manner. I was satisfied with their explanations. And Field Turf, their standard overhead on a change order is 15%. They were charging us 10%, and after speaking with them, they brought that down to 5%. So the amount that I'm asking you to approve tonight is $3,950 less. So it's $82,950 compared to the amount I had known about when the packet was printed.
Terry, so it's not our current contractor that we would typically use for the parking lot project. It's a different contractor that they oversee?
Correct. And
And a lot of it has to do the finesse of doing the asphalt paving where it butts up right against the track, and you don't want to crack any of that in freshly laid concrete. So it's part of making sure we have the right contractor doing kind of that very fine work, so to speak. And then the other thing, it's also the timing of when that occurs within the greater scope of the whole project, which we will do phase 2 of the paving once everything's done, or phase 3, I guess. Of
I
the
think it's
paving.
3. Yeah.
Once everything's done, because we want to finish that last after all the big machinery has left. So it's kind of a combination of both the contractor that we need as well as the timing of when it is completed.
As far as asphalt, we put it out to bid, and we don't always have the same contractor. So we have a couple of different ones we worked with, but we don't necessarily have a regular one that automatically go to.
So, would this be coming out of the bond money?
Yes.
And do we have a risk of going over what we have allocated for the bond money? If we've got another change order already being looked at for change order 1, and this is change order 2, where's our risk for going over what we have?
No, right now we are fine. I have the actual amount when I think it was 400 and some odd thousand in the bond contingency account. So we're transferring 82,000.
From the other bonds, not from the turf field bond?
It's one bond. So it's one contingency account.
But, okay, but the turf field bond was like $1 million.
The athletic field project was 3 million.
Right.
And then the facilities project was 3 million. They're both around $3 million.
Right. But this part of it, the stadium part is like $1 million something, right? So is
It
all that
was
money
more,
lumped
yeah, it
in?
was more
Yeah,
than that.
take it.
But again, when both questions passed successfully, we only ended up with one bond, and so we only have one contingency within that bond.
For that one bond,
Yes, that applies to both,
and that's usually like a 10% of the.
correct.
So there's like, what, 400,000 you're saying in there?
There was 600,000 in there.
So how could there be more than 10% of the bond if it was 600,000?
Well,
The bond was 6 million.
6.4 million.
Oh, because the other items that were added in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, I'm thinking-
And we already used some of that contingency last month when we realized we had to redo the fans, right?
With the-
Something
with the
fans
HVAC,
connected to
yes,
the HVAC.
Okay. And then my next question is there, because there's no bid then, if we're just going with the company doing the work. So is that an issue from a no bid standpoint, and does there have to be a bid waiver? Or are they using a company that's on the state list of approved contractors?
That I'm not sure of, so it probably would be helpful if we rephrase the approval to include waiving the bid.
Okay. And then what's the price per square foot run out to? Because I know that's usually what's pretty competitive.
It was a little over $3 a square foot, but there's asphalt and there's concrete, so.
So it's not just asphalt, okay.
No.
Okay. And you said a warranty? Is there a
Well, the
warranty?
track has a warranty, but our concern is you don't want to damage the track with another contractor coming in and to pave right next,
Right,
reclaim the asphalt. and
but
pave.
this doesn't get a warranty because it's not technically part of the track.
No.
It just abuts it.
It's just-
Thank you.
And I would have to guess Steve could probably answer, but there's probably not a standard warranty on asphalt paving.
Correct. It's called a taillight warranty, I was told.
Yes, exactly.
Sharon, do you have a
Question?
question?
I do. It's not clear whether all of the groundwork is going to be done at the same time. So this area is going to be opened up at the same time as the field in order to prevent machinery having to go on top of already cleaned up surfaces.
Essentially, yes, I believe and we can probably get a better sense of this on Thursday when we have our project meeting, but they'll do the excavation now while they can. And they'll eventually put the asphalt in when it's appropriate with respect to when they do the track versus everything else that they've done.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Questions? Well, at this point, we should probably just work on this one since it's fresh in our minds. And we also have to remember to waive the bid requirement. We would need a motion. Can we get a motion from one of the committee members?
I'll make the motion. I would recommend that the Amity Board of Education waive the bid requirements for this project and approve the asphalt removal and reapplying for the amount of roughly $82,950.
And do we have a second?
Yes.
I see Miss- And thank you, Ms. Huxley.
Any
No.
further questions, comments?
All right, Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Miglietti,
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo,
Yes.
Ms. Huxley,
Yes.
Proud.
Yes.
Alrighty then, so we just have a little bit of cleanup business, it looks like on page 11 of our packets. This has to do with the budget transfer from last month. We didn't follow procedure appropriately. So we need to make a formal request and move forward. For your reference, if anyone wants to take a look, it's in the minutes. Let's see, I had it noted, now I can't see the writing.
This is where we approved the awarding the contract to Save More, and we added on those fans, so we're using new equipment to old equipment, and it was explained in the memo how we were going to fund it, but I omitted the formal request for the budget transfer.
In that period. At this point, I would like to get a motion from one of the members of the committee.
I'll make the motion.
Is that Matt?
It
Matt,
was.
Second?
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. Any further questions before we take the roll? And just clean up. We're okay, Dr. Byers.
All right, Ms. Cardozo?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yep.
Mr. Giglietti?
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo?
Yes.
Ms. Huxley?
Yes,
Ralph?
Yes.
Thank you all. All right. And now we are at discussion of the monthly financials. Terry, you have some good news for us.
I do. The fund balance looks like it will increase. As we get closer to the end of the year, we can get a better idea of how things are going. I do want to point out a few things about, why there is a surplus. I know that it's easy to look at it and say it could just be bad budgeting, but I'd like to point out that when this budget was developed, we had not even heard the word COVID-19. When the budget was approved, we didn't know how we were going to finish fiscal year 20, let alone start fiscal year 21. The only normal occurrence in this budget is that the special ed revenue has a situation where when we have unexpected student placements that are high cost, we will get reimbursement from the state. So we had some students, placements were different, whether they moved in the district, that were not budgeted for. As you see on our special ed report, there's a lot of transition. So when we filed our report in March, we will actually get $353,000 more than was budgeted. I will also point out that may cause a problem because we have brought back some of those students into districts after that March report was filed. So we may end up with a hole in our budget next year because that's when the state will adjust for that. We file a final report on this year in August. So they will make that adjustment in next year. We have applied for as every grant funding we could. We have applied to this budget $322,000 in grant funding that we had no idea was available at the time that we developed the budget. And because when we started the fiscal year, we had no idea what it was going to cost to run, we were very conservative and withheld 15% from the accounts, which was almost $1 million. So of that, we got some of that back from the federal government. But really, the staff, very, very careful with their spending. It was a different year for them, hybrid and remote. They just didn't spend everything. They knew they probably weren't going to get that 15% back, but they still just spent what they needed. So very unusual. Medical insurance, again, a very low year. But I will tell you, in talking with Anthony and trying to develop our renewal, they had to work with underwriting to try to develop some new procedures because they don't know how to project because this year has been so different. So I just wanted to point that out, that I think it speaks to not just the administration, but all of the staff's efforts to make this work in a very different year. And I'm happy that there's money left. I'm happy we didn't bust the budget, but I just wanted to point out some of the reasons why that are very unusual that we have that. So that being said, the revenue I told you is up from special education. Staff salaries, you'll see on certified staff. Now is the time of year we start to see some unpaid leaves of absences. We can anticipate that homebound instruction will be much less than budgeted. Some of the sports in the fall didn't run. we're adjusting for all of that now. So we had a lot of staff who were able to work remotely, so even if they weren't in, it was helpful that we were able to keep our costs there. As far as certified staff, again, we were not able to roll out the student help desk by the time there were enough students back and they were ready. We didn't have the right applicants. There was very few, and whether they weren't the right grade level. So that was a savings. The overtime estimates severely reduced because there was almost non-existent night activities. We're just starting to get to that point where we're going to have some night activities. So medical right now, I'm saying it's at 81.5% of claims. So there is money left there. You can see in special ed, we've got some transitions between pupil services and tuition, and you'll see later on I asked for a budget transfer. So it's wonderful. We get to bring the students back into the district. That's where we want them to be. And we save on tuition, we save on transportation, but then some other needs develop in order to meet their needs in the district. And you'll see that request come through. Unemployment has, we have every month's bill since last March. And it has taken a long time to sort out, but we have been very successful. So and we have kept people employed, which is also the most important thing. So we don't have the large expense that we weren't sure how it was going to pan out. We do have some requests in for, some possible technology needs and whatnot. Food services, other purchase services. At the time that I prepared this report, the deficit was estimated at 202,000. Last week, we had our monthly meeting on financials, and the estimate is down to 156,000 in loss. And that has to do with, again, everything changing. Middle school went to full day in person. So now next week, we're going to try to start offering some a la carte. So we're trying to do things to keep bringing that number down. And we are going to be able to apply $21,000 in some of the latest grant funds to that, towards that deficit. Snow removal was for the year, just as a point of reference, 26,325 over budget. We had a small bill in March after the rough month of February there. You'll see there's some estimates for some equipment costs. There's not request in the budget. We're getting prices, and then we'll bring that forward to you next month. But I did want to highlight our intentions there. The science textbooks, there'll be a transfer for that. And that really was taken out of next year's budget. That book was just approved, I believe, in February at the curriculum meeting. And since now they know the actual enrollment is less money than they planned on. So we feel that rather than have them wait a whole year, so to put those books in place, it would be better to get them used sooner. So that is the summary of the monthly financials.
I don't know how many of you heard this, but Lamont announced tonight that all restrictions are gone as of May 19th. I don't know if you heard that or not. So he eliminated everything.
Other than the mask mandate, the masks.
Yeah, he wasn't clear on that, but he didn't really say it's kind of discretionary, I guess. So we'll see.
I read that the current said that everything except for the indoor masks, but
Indoor.
outdoors,
Yeah.
social gatherings, we'll all read it, I'm sure, when we get home, but it was another bright spot, so.
Yeah.
That bodes well. Thanks for bringing that up, Matt. And then Terry, this forecast includes the 1%?
It does. It includes the 1%.
So 7 change after the 1%. Great.
And there is still legislation pending, last I knew, which was last week, that we'll be able to put aside 2%. It just as a point of reference that the state is looking to do that. That boards of eds are allowed to do through their towns is 2%.
Fabulous. For those, the handful of regional districts, I'm sure we're all grateful for that. It's nice. Just
And I know sometimes you guys hear and you look like it, but we understand the complexities involved. We understand, especially during the time of COVID and setting up and spending $500,000 on COVID supplies and PPE and little desk fold thing, glass and all that. And so we appreciate an eye on it, and that for the staff to also, that the teachers and the staff have kept an eye on not spending where they didn't need to spend and holding and being conservative in that area. So, because it makes up for the other areas as well. So, thank you.
All right, so now we have some of our typical transfers under 3,000 on page 113 in the packet.
Excuse me? Question? I'm sorry, Pat. Under item number 5, I think you missed the transfer for the HVAC.
Thought we voted on that, but thank you, Sharon. Let's just double check on that. Pam, would you?
We
double
did?
check?
I thought we only voted on the,
Could be wrong. We're gonna have Pam double check.
I thought we combined those two when Chris made the
no,
So,
Didn't Chris waive the requirement?
I don't think we discussed it at all.
We talked about it.
Right,
Terry
I don't-
explained what happened, but I don't think we ever made the motion.
so I
Okay.
think what we, the motion for the change order, but maybe not for the transfer.
That is correct, yes.
Yes.
At the same time.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon.
Motion, we didn't vote, or we need a motion?
No, we still need a motion.
Okay, thank you
For the
so
tran-
much,
for the
Sharon.
transfer.
Yes.
It's the anal accountant here doing her thing.
Thank you.
So just so I'm, we're doing the second one, the budget transfer motion right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
for the bond contingency.
No, we're doing the one at the
HVAC
bottom for the
project?
HVAC project.
I thought that's the one Matt,
Yeah,
that's the one Matt. I thought,
Did we vote? I thought we
Yes.
did, again,
we
I
did.
thought.
We did.
We missed the one in the
Did
middle,
we
I
vote
thought.
on the first?
no, we did the waive the.
They vote,
All right. Second.
Whatever, we don't have.
we
it, so
voted
yeah.
on the change order. Chris made the. Oh, on the second one, which is the budget, actual budget transfer. Is that what everybody else has?
For the HVAC.
That's what we're confirming with you.
No, I thought we were voting on the HVAC that last time, so.
Yeah, me too.
Do we have one for the first one, because that's most important, we'll go right in order. Are we all?
I think not the second. Right.
I agree. Because Terry started to tell us that last time it was if we forgot to do the transfer for the HVAC, and that's why, and she explained that, and then we took the motion, and Matt and Jenny seconded, and that's what we did. So we missed the transfer of the bond
Second transfer. I mean, that middle
contingency
transfer.
athletic projects. And that's my fault too, because I read the first and didn't go to the second.
This one, this is on.
No, there's, well, I don't know. The thought was that we did that one when Chris made the motion to waive the bid.
The one that got changed from 86 to 82, Chris, that's the one you voted on, and I have on my record that you voted on the HVAC, so that's what we're trying to clarify.
I
thought we voted for the recommending to approve, but not to approve the transfer.
that's
Like you
that's
do the
what
project that
I
might
think
change.
happened. There's 3 motions on that page.
Correct.
We did
two of the
motion
three.
1 and we did motion 3,
Yes.
and we missed motion 2.
Yes.
Because I was just doing the motion for the change order number 2, not for a budget transfer to pay for it after.
Correct.
Mhm.
What we missed.
Are you okay if we have you down as a motion for that missing transfer?
So moved.
Thank you.
Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Turner.
We had a lot of discussion, but any others?
If anybody else is confused, we can quickly recap. But this is something we not act on it, and thanks to Sharon's astute noticing, we can correct this now.
All right, that's it. Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner.
No worries.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo,
Yes.
Huxley,
Yes.
Rao,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you all, thank you for your patience. At this point, can we all agree that we can move on to the monthly budget transfers under 3,000 on page 1? More activity in quite some time,
Well, they
right?
get the staff gets the notice that the end of year is coming and they can't place any more orders. So if they need anything, now's the time to ask.
I was actually pleased to see something with music that we are using the piano enough to actually need repair. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's like, oh my God, normalcy. You know, and plus music, it's important to support the arts as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on those? All right, hearing none, I think we can move on. Discussion and possible action on budget transfers of 3,000 or more, page 115.
So the first one is staff development to cover contract for presenters for professional development. And really there was very little, if any, travel outside the district. So that's where we will have the money to move it from $4,800.
I need to approve the budget transfer of the presenter for professional. Or actually, we recommend, sorry.
What is that?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Matt. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Byers?
Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Nuzzo,
Yes.
Huxley,
Yes.
Rao.
Yes.
We have several more. Are we comfortable taking them one by one?
Let's say, should we just take them together?
Oh,
Well,
Sure, but I love it. I can't believe they're playing a 50.
Yes. So, Mr. Brow, are you making a motion to take the remaining items all as one
I am.
vote? Okay. And so that would be items
Smart.
2.
efficient.
Efficient, yes.
Betty, is that a second?
Yes,
Second.
second.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so let me call the roll on that. So this is to take all the items as one for items 2 through 7, I believe it is. Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Dr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Nuzzo,
Yes.
Huxley.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. And now we need to entertain a motion to approve them all. And once we have a motion and it's seconded, we can have some discussion.
Motion to approve items 2 through 7
Thank you,
on the
Chris.
transfers.
To recommend.
Do you have a second?
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. Okay, any questions? We do have some here, so Terry can just very briefly just touch on some of the highlights and certainly we can ask some questions.
Sure, we see we have a 50-year-old baritone sax that can't find parts for it. The science textbooks that I referred to earlier to get those purchased so they can start using them. The technology smart board is already is beyond repair. So this is one area in science where their labs were greatly impacted by operating the way they did this year. So that's why they have some funds available. Special ed, that's the area where I talked about. We're bringing some kids back. We need to do some good data tracking on them and provide some services for them in-house. or with a consultant. Then the piping on the cooling tower, which we approved the contract to F&F Mechanical. And then COVID, this is again, shoring up some of our COVID accounts that we did this year that didn't have a budget when we started, and we've been taking some of that 15% and applying to those accounts as needed.
Thank you. You've also had a very, very busy year, haven't you, Terry, managing all these accounts?
Very different, yes. Very busy.
The explanation. Do we have any questions from the committee on any of those items, 2 through 7? No? Okay. Dr. Byers?
Ms. Cardozo?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti?
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo?
Yes.
Ms. Huxley?
yes,
Yes.
Thank you. And then we have an informational memo in the back of our packet, page 120. It's an update on the bond projects. It's very small print. So
I know.
So kind as
It is.
Talk us through that, Ms. Loomis. That would be quite helpful.
Yeah, just see if I can eliminate a column or two to make that print a little larger, get it in there better next time. So just wanted to keep everyone informed as, you know, the second year of these. We did some HVAC last year, some paving last year, and work on field 3 last year. So now we're getting into, you know, the remainder of most of the projects, really the bulk of the HVAC and the stadium field project are some of the bigger projects for part of that 2020 bond. We are fielding some FOI requests on this information, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, both the AFC and the board was hearing this information as well. It's all public information, but I wanted to make sure that you're up to date. So I'll include this on a monthly basis for you so that you can see, you know, how the bills are coming in and what we're working on.
Terry, your FOIA requests, are they only related to the turf?
No, there's some that have asked everything we've spent on the bond, out of the bond facility.
Question of who our paver was, I couldn't remember, B&W paving, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Dave Pitney LLP, is that the bond funding support to bonds?
That's the bond counsel who reviews the whole process with us and make sure we do it.
Is that normally higher than 20?
We've seen 35,000 in the past, so
Okay.
I was.
Yeah, that seems, that's why I
Yeah.
asked. I thought it was something else then. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I want to thank you all for your participation and your efficiency. Would also
We have one more,
like to,
everyone,
is
yeah.
there one more in the packet? You know me, I
Yes.
got one more. One more, pension amendment information, page 122.
So this is for the Amity Finance Committee. The board will take action on this later tonight. But through the last group of contract negotiations, we have increased the employees' contribution to the pension plan, which helps the overall budget and the employer's contribution going forward. The pension plan is closed. So we made these adjustments and we just finished with the last group in February. So we asked the attorney to write the amendment to the pension plan so that the plan document is up to date, reflecting these changes. And if the board approves later on, then Dr. Byers will sign that amendment.
So this is simply an FYI to the Amity Finance Committee.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Well, thank you again for all the information, very reasonably compiled and easy enough to process. Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Hearing none?
Motion to adjourn?
Excellent, Mr. Rapp.
I'll second.
second,
Thank you.
All of those in favor, you can wave your hands, you can say aye.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
Thanks,
good
everybody.
night.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good. All right, bye.
Bye.